Hello, welcome to a new episode of EDU Pod, the podcast by Edu Passport. My name is Angie and I will be your host today. We have a very special guest, Peter from South Africa, English teacher, psychologist, actor, content creator, and now he's living in Brazil. Peter, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Hey, Angie. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, English teacher, actor, content creator, psychologist. I would like to know how did all this happen? How do you all this version of Peter coexist in a classroom?
Uh, well, that was well asked. um, I think over time, I just tried to do things that felt authentic. Like at the time, I was doing them like psychology. I was finished school, and then I was like, well, I need to study something. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do psychology because then maybe I can make money with that. And then I studied that, and then I realized, oh, that doesn't feel like it's for me 100%. And so then I moved into acting. And then to do that, I would like teach English. Teaching English has enabled me to do a lot of things. It's actually teaching English let me pay for like school, for example, and things like that. Because I used to be able to teach in the nights and study in the day and pay for school fees. And it's enabled me to do a lot. And then, yeah. So I say the thing with all the things like psychology, and then I went into acting, and then I came to Brazil, and all of those things, English has been either part of helping me with school, or when I came to Brazil, I needed English again, teaching English again to help me with integrating into a life here because I needed work. And I was like, if I just arrive in Brazil, how am I going to survive? And teaching English was good. Yeah. And teaching English was good because I could do that on the internet. And yeah, yeah, I suppose it's like a weird little journey. And teaching English has been throughout that journey, I'd say.
But
Yeah.
how did you decide to become a teacher? I mean, being a teacher was something that you thought about, or was something that you thought, okay, I'm good at it, or how was it?
Uh, my mother, my mother, because what happened is, wow, long ago, it was like I finished psychology and I wanted to study acting. And now I was like, okay, well, now I need to work with something that gives me flexible hours. And at the time I was working in logistics and that wasn't for me. And then my mom said, why don't you teach English to foreigners? You can do this. There's like, can't remember what it was. I think it was a TOEFL that I did, like a certificate. And then I did that. And then I applied to teach at this company that teaches English. And then I did that and I got that job. And then because I had that job, but it was my mom. But it was just a random idea because my mom is like that. She just has these random ideas and she just had that idea. And then I did it and it's always helped me. And I think my mom has always wanted me to teach, but I think her vision of it was different. For me, it was something that it always enabled me. And it's also something I've always enjoyed so much because it's not like when I was working in logistics, man, Angie, it was so painful because I'd work in logistics and it was, you have to be a certain kind of person and do a certain kind of work. And it's like, it's harsh and it's fine to enjoy it. But the teaching English I enjoyed because I got to connect with people and be with people and help people because it's really good. Like it's flexible, so it enables you to do many things, other things if you want to. But it's also work it feeds your soul, you know, because you get to help people and because you get to connect with people. And sometimes you meet people that really uh cool. I don't want to use in a way they grow you, but people that are they influence you. Like meeting you. I mean, I remember the first time I met you, and then we would meet regularly, and then we'd have discussions. That kind of thing it's powerful over time, you know. And so, yeah,
Did you know this before you started teaching about how it
No,
will become to you, make a soul, as you say?
no.
When can you tell me as an experience that you realize, okay, I feel that way, in that way, being a teacher?
Huh. It's interesting because I think that for me, the relationship with the teaching is different too. Because I know a lot of people who teach English as a foreign language, and I think for them, it's in that, sometimes it's in that moment, and I can see. But for me, it was probably when I was for example, when I was teaching at this other place and I was studying, I would meet students, and these students became friends, and then they became friends in a way where even today I'm still friends with it, you know? And um and I think what happened is at one point I would be like, I would look at the people that were students, and I'd be like, wow, they're such a big part of my life, because I'm around them a lot. I'd meet them daily or whatever. And that influenced me. And then also I realized that, for example, let me give you an example. So there's this friend I have, Pedro, in Sao Paulo. And Pedro I've known since when I was teaching long, when I started teaching. And Pedro had to pass an IELTS, I think, for his work. And I helped him do that. And that's helped him so much. For me, it was just like I was just doing my job. And I was like, okay, let me teach and then do my thing and do that, do that. But for him, it was like him having this IELTS was a tool that like enabled so much for him. And for me, it was just that I got to have this connection. And that was just part of my work. It wasn't like I had to go out and find that was just part of the work. I get to connect with a person like that. And those things, it's like those kinds of relationships. So when I had those, I would look at it and I'd be like, wow, it really is good for my soul. And also, I would meet people, and sometimes you meet people and you're with them for an hour, and the person you are before you meet them and the person you are after an hour is different. You have more energy, or you have those moments. Or I would meet random people, random students who I'd never met before, and I would have these powerful interactions with them because at that time I was probably meeting, I don't know, like 100 new people a month. And so it would just be like the chance of meeting new people that are just on the same frequency as you is high. And so those small connections I would have over time, I'd be like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Yeah, that's what happened. It's over the time with the connections that I was like, I started feeling that way, that it was good for my soul. Yeah, sorry, was that a lot?
Perfect. Perfect. I know that most of your experiences as a teacher is online with different cultures, but I would like to know, does it change? I mean, the feeling where it is when it's face to face in a classroom with a crowd of people.
That's a good question. I think, because when I came to Brazil, I got a,
Different. Uh,
yeah, you need different tools and there's different kind of pressures. Because in the beginning, I was definitely like in the beginning when I was teaching out, people would ask things and I'd be like, luckily it was on the internet. So I'd be like, I have no idea. And I would just say that I have no idea, but I could learn it right then on a computer. When it's in person, I couldn't do that. It's just like what it is what it is. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. When someone asks in person, you can't like find the answer in the air. You can't, you have to like try and, yeah. So then, in person is like for sure. I know I prefer connecting with people in person. It feels better because there's always more information. Like yeah, with you, I can see your face, and but when you're with someone in person, you can feel if they're comfortable with this or that's difficult or that much more. You can feel how they're engaging with what you're saying and what they're learning much more in person, I think. But with the internet, I think I did so much teaching on the internet, I got used to this, like engaging like this. It started to feel like it doesn't feel like I'm on the internet now, with it, for example. It just feels like, you know, and it becomes a bit surreal because over time, like that friend Pedro that I told you about, I have this good friend and I know him so well and I've never met him in real life ever. And it feels a bit weird. And then when I did meet him, when I came to Brazil once, I was like, man, I'm coming to Brazil. Can I meet you? And then we met, and it was so weird. He was like, you're so tall. And I was like, it was different, you know? So it is different, but I would say that the things that when you move online, you get used to it. You start to like adapt to that world, you get used the things you missed in real life. You get used to them online and you adapt to it, You don't need the in-personness to get the same information you would get in person. Yeah.
I can really feel how you have a lot of passion about it, about education, about being a teacher, meet people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about, I think it's crazy because it's such a big, uh, it's a kind of work that has many facets. It has many, um, parts. And so you get to connect with people, but you also get to share knowledge, but you also get to help someone grow their knowledge of something. And so there's certain things about it that don't matter to me. There's certain things about it that I love, but the things about it that don't matter to me, some other teachers, I realize they love that, like, for example, the idea of sharing the knowledge of English, that to me is not like, oh, that's not so magical, but definitely connecting with people and helping them or enabling them to do something in their life through English is like, because normally when you're teaching English as a foreign language, you're meeting people. Man, Angie, sometimes I've met people who are like, I have to learn English. I've started a new job now and I have to improve in 6 months because I have to be able to do. It's like English is this key difference to their growth in their career or in the situation they're in. And you get to be part of the solution, the thing that's going to help them, you know? They're like the boat that can get them from there to there. And you're like, that feels good. That's definitely, I know that's something that a lot of people share. I realize that about a lot of teachers. They're like, it feels good to help someone in that way. It's a very unique way to help someone. Uh, yeah. I,
Um, I would like to know, in your experience, how do you deal with cultural difference? Well, first, I would like to know how many different countries, people from different countries, have you been teaching English, and if you have, if you need to deal with different, yeah, cultural difference.
so when I started, the place where I was working, I would meet people from Russia, China, Vietnam, Thailand, Italy, like everywhere that I can think of. There's, except like Iceland. Iceland, I didn't need any. there. But I meant like Ukrainians. I met that's the other thing is I met so many people and I learned so much truth about culture. Like it's not like there's cultural difference and it can be seen like that, but it's also like it's almost like having a Google, but a Google of human beings that will tell you the truth of experiences that you can't get from Google, like you're like, what is it like in Ukraine? Or what is it like in China? And then they tell you about their life or their things. And that's just part of the job. It's not like you're interviewing them or anything. They're just telling you these things. You're just learning these things. And so it's not even the difference in culture is not like, for me, it wasn't like a shock. there definitely are cultural differences, but they're definitely at the same time, at the same stretch. There's no different, like the prejudices that people have about Russians and about like the way that they're like serious or the way Germans are serious and this and the Italians are these prejudices and these ideas. Sometimes they're like there's a degree of truth, but that's for anything. Any any culture has those things. But at the same time, it's like everybody is human, and you start to feel it. Because I would meet like, let's say I met like 1,000, and that's not even unrealistic. Like 1,000 different people over time from different places, Russia, China, and you start to be like, man, we're all just like we're trying, and the difference in culture is just like different windows, you know, to a life, to the way we can see the world. But it's the same world, you know? It's
Of course.
definitely, yeah, it feels like that. So, and then also where I come from, South Africa, we have different cultures like crazy, and we're so used to it. So, but I mean, this level of cultural difference, like Russia to South Africa, it's just complete. They have different weather, different things, and different ideas, and different. It's very different from South Africa. But yeah, it starts to become like you don't see it as a cultural difference. You just see it as a different window to the same thing. And you're like both looking at the same thing, but they're looking through that window, you know? And then over time, I learned to, I think I met so many people from Colombia as well. I started to, or just naturally connect with certain places that I wanted to visit. Like Brazil was one in Colombia. So I have never been to Colombia, but Colombia is a place that I really want to go to because of the music. I feel music.
You need to. You need to.
Yeah.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation with a student that was pretty difficult to connect with?
Ah, yeah, many times. Yeah. And that's natural. Like even like I learned to just let that be. Like it's not something it's like I am not for everybody. Like as a teacher I learned it's like I learned to be like, okay, this is my brand. This is my way. And it works for some people and it doesn't work for others. And if I'm trying to be for the people it doesn't work for, it's just I won't be happy, you know? So sometimes there would be difficulty connecting. And then I'd be like, well, maybe that person is not for me. And they're like, and it's cool. It's perfect actually. Because it's just like my style and my way and who I am is not for them. But then also at the same time, it's times I would think this person is difficult to connect with. But with the English teaching, I think I just kind of sometimes the people who you think are difficult to connect with are the people that are like you form very deep connections with them. I don't know how that happened, but it just like sometimes those are the people that surprise you, you know? Cause I don't know, it's, it definitely opens your mind when you teach English and you meet so many different people and it very much opens your mind because you meet a person and normally if you had a prejudice, like you're like, they're closed. I don't like them. Eventually you stop doing that. You're like, they're closed. Cool. Let them be. Maybe that's their way. This is my way. And then you start to just like open up slowly, and be okay with whatever.
Did you try before to quit, for example, with that student, or and if you try, how do you try?
Yeah. That's a good question. So, like you're saying, if I met someone and then I was like, I'm not feeling this, but they keep meeting me.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, that has happened. And it's happened. And then, yeah, that's I don't know if they say this in other countries, but that is touch and go. It's like, do you know that touch and go? If I say it like
Yeah.
that, yeah, that's touch and go. It's like, that's complicated because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In terms of, sometimes I would meet someone and I'd be like, I'm not feeling them. They'll just stop classes. And then they don't, you know? And I'm like, they're okay with the way this feels. Maybe this is the kind of thing they're looking for, you know? Like, for example, in therapy, if I don't want to be friends with the therapist. I want it to be serious and cold, for example. Sometimes so I'm like, maybe they want it to not have that connection. Maybe they want to just, you know. So in those situations, I would just leave it. I'll just be like, let me just try and keep going. Let me just keep teaching this person. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, and then slowly it'll just die, you know, and sometimes that happened. Sometimes eventually I started to like the person and then it turned and then I started enjoying the classes and then we started having that connection. And then I don't remember ever being like, look, can we cancel these classes? I'm not for you, you know? But what I did learn over time is if I met someone and I could feel this is probably not going to work, I would try and push it in that direction, which is bad, but I'd be like, it was nice to meet you, and I hope you find what you're looking for. It sounds like breaking up, eh? I hope you're fine. I hope you find what you're looking for. Yeah, it's drama. You cry, so it looks. No.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, yeah. You said it was nice to meet you. I hope you find what you're looking for, and then you kind of just try and keep it like you don't try and open the door to meet the person again. You know. I used to try and do that a little bit if I could feel. I'm like, this, my style and this person are, because sometimes students want a certain style and I could see that. And I could see I wasn't the one to give it to them. And sometimes uh, I would say, this is my style. Maybe you're looking for this thing. And then I'd like leave it there. And I don't know if students would realize sometimes that I'm not for them, you know? And then eventually, as I became more experienced with teaching, I think I became more confident to just say that, like to show that more, you know? Like this is my style. If this isn't for you, then um maybe this kind of class isn't for you, you know? I just say that, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any bad experience that make you think, okay, maybe teaching is not for me anymore?
That experience that caused me to think teaching was not for me. No, no. I don't remember anything like
It's a valley of happiness.
it's
Teaching.
not that it's a valley of happiness. It's just that it's like I think anything you do, there's gonna be like bad moments and good moments. And sometimes there's bad moments and you're like, it is what it is, you know? But I think if you teach and you don't enjoy doing it, I think eventually you know that. You tell yourself that. And it's not because of the moment that's happened, you know? I think you're just like, that's not for me, you know? Like that's happened to me with many jobs that I've done. I've done like and I'm like, this is just not my thing. Like the logistics, working in legit. I'm like, it's not that the trucks are bad. The trucks didn't do anything to me. You know? I'm just not for transport, you know? Uh, things like that. Yeah.
Do you think that because, as I say, and you are a psychologist and an actor and a content creator, and you have this big personality, do you think these um, things give you an like some advantage as a teacher on your classroom?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I can say
I
yes.
think it's interesting.
Yeah, he's a student, by the way. But yeah, I can say yes. But I want to know if you realize that you have this type of psychologist and like an actor in your classroom, or is something was your person.
Yeah. I don't know if I feel like you know when I was saying earlier, like this is for me, like this person is in my style, and this person for my style. I think I see it like that. I'm like, this is the way I do things, and it makes the work pleasurable for me, and it means that I'm doing it authentically in my way because it's a very diverse kind of work. You can be any kind of teacher. You get so many kinds of teachers that do things so many different ways, and they're all very good. And I think I just do it my way, and I'm like like with you and I think. it just worked. But it happens that I've often met people where it's like people would say the opposite, they don't like the psychologist side, for example. Because I know I do that. I know I really like talking about the person. I really like talking about students' lives, and like I really enjoy it. Some people don't want that. Some people want it to be about English and nothing else. And that's not for me. So in a way, it could be seen as an advantage, but it's more like it's for some people and it's not for others. I think. Do you know what I mean? And I realized that with when I started to over time, eventually when I was teaching, if I was selling myself, I would be like, the thing I had to do well is communicate exactly the kind of thing I can offer people, you know? And that was the important thing, because then the people who are looking for that thing could find it. So it's like if you're looking for, because that's why by chance I would meet a lot of Brazilians, because they look for that kind of product in learning. Like now I'm doing Portuguese classes, and they're exactly the kind of classes that I would teach in English. We talk, we talk about random things that are like, you know, random, that I'm like, sometimes I'm like, why is the talk, they'll be like, why did marriages increase between the years 2019 and 20? And I'm like, why did I discuss it? Okay, well, it's random. But I enjoyed that. And I think but whereas there are certain cultures that it's in the way that learning happens in that culture is not my style of teaching. I learned that. Yeah.
And you kind of teaching. I think that sounds interesting because maybe some people can think that teaching is something that is like a plan, like it's something that the education ministry told you and that's it. And because this about a style is not something that you think for a teacher. You think about it for an artist. You're an actor, by the way, but so it's interesting that you say that you have like a style and it's your way and it's the way that it works for you.
Like, and I say it like style because it's like I've met so many teachers and I've seen how so many teachers teach, and I'm like, I would never try and do what that person is doing because they're good at that. Like, and it's because they're using themselves in their work. Because a lot of the time, like I'd say most of the time when I meet people who teach, they teach because they enjoy it. Because if you don't enjoy it, it makes it very difficult to do that work because it's not easy sometimes. Like I've met people who are good with children when they teach because that's just the way they are. When they put themselves in the work, it creates a style. And so like, it's just like when they're authentic about the way they're doing the work, which is when they put themselves in it, it creates a style. And like my style is probably not good. I've had it when I've met younger people like 16, 15, 14 for teaching. Most of the time it doesn't work because of that psychologist thing. I think I like discussing that. And when you're like, say to a 14-year-old, it's like, do you feel that you're in a deep crisis in your life? It's like, it's too much.
Yeah.
Do you feel do you feel that pain inside? Would you say that to a 14-year-old? They're like, what?
Oh, I
Really?
love that. Yeah. Do you have any advice for someone that wanted to start teaching English or teaching in general? And maybe this about creating an style could help them?
Yeah, I think I've met people who I think um want to teach, and then they're like, uh, they're nervous about it because I think that they feel, I think it scares people sometimes in some ways because they're like, I have to pass knowledge on to someone and this is a responsibility. And sometimes they feel that it has to be a perfect process where you give information and there must be this class and this, this lesson that's perfect. And I think that like, I think the advice that I would give is like, if you feel you want to teach, I think that desire to teach, that want to teach is enough because that already means that you have the tool to make you better at it every day, and that's good. Like it's never perfect. It's never going to be that start teaching English and it's great and you whatever it is that you're teaching. It never is that you'll start it and you will be the perfect teacher because it's very difficult. You have to connect and there's no rules, but there are rules. And then you're like, okay, you can't use these rules because this person is feeling that way. You have to be present. And so it's like, I think you have to be okay with failing and trusting that you wanting to do it is enough because that means you're going to fail and learn and learn and learn and you'll get better. And before you know it, you'll realize that you're in a process where you're doing something that's good. You're doing the thing that you think you want to do for people, you know? Does that make sense?
So patience is the key.
Yeah, patience and being okay with not being perfect. I think it's just like it's like patience with yourself, not even with the person, with yourself. Like patience and being okay with not being perfect. Like it's very tough because teachers are the way they are. Because I realize teachers are these people that are very like nice to be with because they're so often have to confront who they are. You know, they have to like be around people. And if they're like, I don't know if I can swear, yeah, but if they're like a shit person, they have to be that to the students, you know, and then they're like, that's not working. I can't do that. That's getting in the way of this thing. So I think you like, yeah, it was teaching you connect with the person, but at the same time you connect with yourself. And at the same time you learn to fail. And at the same time you learn to be better. And at the same time it grows you while you're growing somewhat. But the advice I would say is like, don't try and be perfect in the beginning. If you want to do it, that's a great start. And that's a reason to start, you know? That's what I think. And I think it will be valuable. Just wanting to do it makes it a valuable thing to do, you know?
Yeah. Just before finishing, I wanted to ask you because I'm very curious about if you feel nervous before your classes or when you are going to meet a new student or something.
No, I don't think so. No, especially over time. And I didn't feel nervous. I think I started to feel, especially if it was a new student, I'd be excited because I'd be like, who is this person, you know? And then, and then, yeah, because it often happens. It often happens. I mean, imagine the people you're meeting when you're teaching English, for example, and you're teaching to adults, they're normally they're people who want to learn. They're normally people who want to grow. That makes that person already, there's a high chance that they're already an exciting human being, you know? There's already some story there, you know what I'm saying? Like, like there's something they want to learn English for. Like you now, like you speak English amazingly, you know? And it's like that your native language is Spanish and you're from Colombia, but you're living in Argentina. It's like there's already a story there, you know? I think it becomes more interesting than being nervous. You're more like, I wonder what the story is that's going to be showed now. Do you know what I'm saying?
I definitely would love to have you here again in a future episode, of course. It's clear that teaching is more than just grammar or a book. It's about connection, culture, creative, passion. And
Yeah.
yeah, thank you, Peter. Thank you for your time. And for the
Thank you.
people who is listening us, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow us on Spotify and YouTube. And see you next time on EDU Pod, where global education gets personal. Thank you.